how do you price your pork? Instead of trying to give people the cheapest price, give people the greatest value. Get rid of people who are going to waste your time and not value your product. You're struggling with the idea of being too expensive because you know how much work and how much time and money go into producing this quality product. You also want to make sure that you're not charging an unreasonable fee because you don't want to have it priced so highly that the only people who are going to be able to afford it are people who are independently wealthy, and people that are in your community aren't going to be able to touch it with a 20-foot pole because it just costs too damn much. But at the same time, you can't put your heart and your blood, sweat, and tears into raising an animal and not get enough money back for it. So what's the right answer? How do you price your pork in a way that works for you, works for your customers, and allows your farm to benefit from what you're doing? I'm Stephen Reichert, and this is Rowan Ridge Farm. We are raising heritage hogs on pasture the old-fashioned way in western New Hampshire, and I've been doing this for about 4 years, so I've made a lot of mistakes and course corrections, and that's generally what I want to be sharing with you guys on this channel, along with encouragement, because farming is very lonely, it's very solitary, and there's a large part of the population that doesn't understand it, so it's hard to talk to people about it. This is an outlet where I want to connect with you guys and also really encourage you guys to take that first step. We have to determine, what is it that we are really selling at the core? Are we selling a commodity? Because you see that in the grocery store and you see pork chops for $3.25 a pound maybe. I can't even buy feed if I'm selling my pork that cheap. What we're raising on our farm is vastly superior in terms of quality. And like my good friend Doug, my butcher, says, quality does not cost, quality pays you. And in order to appreciate that, you have to understand the difference in the first place. In the words of Kramer from Seinfeld, you're not selling the steak, you're selling the sizzle. And in order to be able to market that correctly, you have to really believe that and understand that. And the more that you can create opportunities to show that to your customers, the more repeat and loyal your customers are going to be. And I may at some point do a video on small farm marketing, because I have a background in photography, website building, videography, despite what you may think from watching some of these videos here on my channel. And I think that's an area where a lot of farmers struggle. So if that's something you'd like to see, please do leave a comment and also leave questions, because this is a conversation that I think needs to be ongoing. But as farmers, we need to stop being afraid to price our product in a manner that actually is going to benefit us, because our customers presumably want us to continue raising and producing these products. That being the case, if we are pricing ourselves out of business or pricing our products so low that it is crushing our soul to continue doing this, then the product goes away, the farm goes away, and everything folds. Now, this may seem like a fairly obvious factor in calculating the price that you're selling your pork for, but the first thing is to know your numbers. You want to have a rough idea about what the feed cost is per animal to get it from a piglet to market weight, which is, let's say, 275 to 300 pounds is roughly where I like my animals. It costs between $400 and $500 in feed. In terms of time, it takes at least an hour a day for my animals. I know what my time is worth in terms of what I would get paid if I were working at the hospital. And so I would say that there's easily $500 worth of man hours put into my animals. So right now we're at $450, let's say, for feed, $500 for time and labor. So that's right off the top, you're at about $1,000, maybe just a little bit shy of that. Then there's infrastructure, medical, and then processing is the other thing that we have to factor in as well. So that's the cost of slaughter, that's the cost of butchering. And then if you're going to do any value-added products like linked sausages or mixed sausages, you have curing and smoking for bacon and hams. Those also need to be factored in. And again, for an animal this size, we're talking another $500, $700, depending on how much sausage and how big the hams and the bacon are. All told, producing a hog that's going to go to market for somebody, I'm looking at $1,200 to $1,600 for the cost of my inputs. You need to make enough to cover your inputs, and then you have to have enough beyond that, where you can make some profit. Do you want to sell for a cheaper price and then make the customer do more legwork, or do you want to sell for a higher price and do all the legwork but add value so that the customer only has to pay you once and then they have everything ready to go from that point forward? Now, I've done it both ways, and I would say that instead of trying to give people the cheapest price, give people the greatest value and the best product, because they're already spending what we would consider a lot of money. Make sure that they are getting more value for spending a little bit more, rather than trying to save a nickel and then they still have to spend a decent amount, but then they don't get the convenience on top of that. You have to know your marketing and know your market. You have to choose the right customers. And a lot of people think, well, if I charge too much, my customers are going to reject me. The people are going to lay an egg and they're going to choke if I tell them that this is how much my pork costs. It's up to you not only to attract customers, I would argue it's more important that you reject customers and you get rid of people who are going to waste your time and not value your product. You don't want to share something that has your heart in it and your blood, sweat, and tears with these people. They don't want your product. What they want is they want something for nothing. They can go and find that at Dollar General or Walmart or Kroger or any other big supermarket chain. They don't need to come to your farm to get that. It's the people who are paying the least for your product who are going to value it the least. And when you charge more because you believe in it and you can market what you're doing and the way the animals are raised and the care that they get, the quality of life that they lead, the health benefits that go along with that, which are very real. They are not imaginary. It's not fluff to tell people that, hey, when your pig is living on pasture and has access to forests and water and sunshine, it is a healthier animal that has a better lipid profile. It is healthy in ways that Smithfield pork is not. When those animals are raised in barns for their entire lifespan and never see the sun except for when they're going out into the truck and being loaded up to get on the highway, there are people out there who will value your product at the price that you charge, and those are the people that you want to sell to because they want to pay for that. They want a product that is worth the money. If you were the cheapest product out there, you're telling people, my product isn't really that good, it's at the bottom of the heap. Now, conversely, you probably don't want to be all the way at the top of the heap and be the most expensive producer out there either. And so, yeah, it's valuable to look at the market and say, okay, what's the absolute bottom and the absolute top that you have seen it? And then really be critical and assess your operation and the amount of specialty that you have in there. Are you doing non-GMO feeds? Are you raising your animals and having them forage specifically on like acorns or dropped fruit in an orchard or in the forest in the fall? Are you keeping them on pasture year round? Are they eating a forage-rich diet where you're planting legumes and cover crops for them to eat throughout the warmer months of the season? These are all things that you need to be looking at, taking into account the breeding, the genetics, the development that you have put into a breed. And I'm going to be doing an entire series on breeding piglets and that process. Knowing what's going into your animals from a genetic standpoint is a big item that you can market as leverage for a quality animal, because it's not just, here's an animal that I got and I'm raising for you, so I have 6 months into this. When you raise this animal's great grandparents and you bred generations of this breed of animal to make a highly specific, high quality animal that has a longer back with more chops in it and more belly in it, so more bacon and better fat content and better fat quality because of the diet that you're getting into it, those are things that you can sell. That's selling the sizzle. And you do that by looking at your competition, top and bottom, and you want to be somewhere about 25% or so from the top. You don't want to be all the way in the bottom. You don't necessarily have to be all the way in the middle. But if you're going to be higher than the middle in terms of the cost that you're charging, you do have to add value. So I'm handling the sausage and the cost of all of that, whether it's linked or loose, and they can have as much as they want. Now, I pay more for linked sausage and I pay more for regular sausage and ground pork, but I'm covering all those costs because I want you to just say, I just want this, I want that, I want the other thing, not doing math and trying to figure out how much you're going to have to pay when you go to the next processor who's going to then have to go through this whole ordeal with you, so that you pay once and the value is in your time as my customer. I save you time by doing all this stuff for you, and that allows me to mark that labor and that time that I'm investing up by maybe 10%. And ironically, the person who told me to do this was a local business person here who's been faithfully buying pigs from me. Why not just do everything all at once yourself, charge 10, 15% more for what you're selling, and then you cover the cost of all those things. You bill me once, and I'm happy to pay a little extra for it because I'm not having to do the legwork. And I was like, I think he's onto something. And that's what I've been doing recently. And so far, I've been really happy with the result. The price of pork is something that is highly variable based on your region. I am in New Hampshire, which is New England, and the price of piglets out here, just cost of input, because I breed my own piglets. I have a breeding herd here that I pull my animals from, but for other producers that are buying pigs for me, I'm charging $150 a head for piglets, wormed, castrated, heritage breeds, and heritage crosses. But if you were in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Iowa, you would be paying like $75, $65, $80 in that neighborhood for piglets. Corn costs a lot less in Iowa than it does in New Hampshire because it has to go a long way to get from Iowa to New Hampshire. The point isn't to match my numbers. The idea is to give you a window into my process of how I'm arriving at these numbers and where you generally want to be in the hierarchy of the cheapest versus the most expensive. If it's worth it for you to do it and you enjoy it, you're going to keep doing it, you're going to do it better, and you have to keep going for higher quality and value added. And that means charging more and not being afraid to say, no, this is actually a better product, so that when it comes time to set your price, you have good answers and understand you are not selling a commodity. You're not selling to your local Whole Foods or Kroger's or Walmart. You're selling to people who are coming to you specifically because they want something better. What do you think? Agree? Disagree? Leave a comment. Let's discuss and argue about it. In the meantime, subscribe to this channel. I'm going to do a deep dive on breeding piglets because a lot of folks that are raising pork also are interested in producing their own pork to then raise and take on a little bit more of that process. And subscribing is the simplest and the best way to let us know that what we're doing is hitting the mark for you and that you want to join us as we continue our quest to make America farmers again. See you on the next video, guys.